Alright, we need to talk about Sony, because this isn't the same company I grew up loving. This isn't the same PlayStation that made me fall in love with video games. They used to be fearless. Every few years, they'd drop a game that wasn't just good, it was generation defining. There was a time when PlayStation and quality just went hand in hand. And I don't say that lightly, I say that as someone who lived through their golden eras. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. But now, Sony feels tired, disconnected, almost like they've already won and collected the bag. But if they pulled this same shit as they're doing right now last generation, they'd be in the same position as Xbox. So let's talk about what the hell is going on at Sony. Welcome to WeGamers XP, I'm your host Dario, and if you're liking this video, please subscribe. The PlayStation 2 era felt unbeatable. I mean, everyone had one, even if you didn't game much. And look, the DVD player for sure helped, but the games, they were just flowing non-stop. I still remember booting up Shadow of the Colossus for the first time and not understanding how a game could feel so lonely yet beautiful at the same time. You had games like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Final Fantasy, God of War, Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, Gran Turismo, SOCOM, Okami, Persona, and that's just to name a few. It was game after game, genre after genre, all pushing boundaries in the exact same way. Sony was hungry, and when a company's that hungry, they make bold choices. Then came the PS3, and let's be real, that launch was rough. It was overpriced, overhyped, and underdelivered at first. But here's what I'll always respect about Sony in that era. They didn't double down on the arrogance. They pivoted. They started listening. They gave studios more room to experiment, and slowly, the magic came back. I mean, look at these games. You had Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. You had The Last of Us. You had Infamous 1 and 2. You had the Killzone series. And Demon Souls. Sony wasn't messing around with PlayStation 3 later in the life cycle. It wasn't always perfect, but it felt genuine. It was like they were trying again, and they ended that generation in a better place than they started. I remember friends of mine wanted to pick up a PlayStation 3 almost at the end of that generation, and it was because the lineup of games that they had. And then was the PlayStation 4, a perfect launch to a console. This is where Sony was untouchable. Not only were they making all the right steps, but their competition was failing miserably. And there was a run of nothing but hits. You remember this stretch, right? Bloodborne, Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Spider-Man, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and The Order 1886. I had to throw that last one in there because I like that game. But it was like every 6 months. Sony was releasing banger after banger. The highest quality AAA single games you could find. And you wouldn't have to wonder whether to buy the next PlayStation. You just knew you'd get your money's worth. They had this perfect rhythm of big budget, emotional single player experiences. And what made it special wasn't just the polish, it was the trust. You trusted Sony. You knew that they were going to deliver. It felt like a platform for artists. And then came the PS5. And at first, it looked promising. People were hyped, and Sony had momentum. But since launch, I don't know, something just feels off. They still got some big games out early in the generation, like Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon Forbidden West, Demon Souls Remake, and Returnal. But the pacing and the vibe, it just wasn't there. We're seeing more remakes and remasters than ever. And worse, Sony's pivoting hard into live service territory. Remember when they announced 12 live service games? Half of which have been quietly cancelled, and the others, they look soulless. Remember Fair Games? Concord? Nobody cares. These games are destined to fail. I mean, Concord lasted a month. That is embarrassing. They don't look like they're built with passion. These are games that are built for money, and people can recognize it. They don't want to play this shit. And look, even the few that land, like Helldivers 2, they're fantastic, but Sony almost ruins it with weird decisions, like forced PSN logins for PC players, and a studio that keeps almost killing their game with every update. And that's where I start to wonder, are we still for the gamers? And is Sony still greatness awaits? Sony has been shutting down and losing studios left, right, and center. Pixel Opus, they're gone. Deviation Games, they're closed before a single game even came out. Remember The Last of Us Factions 2? Cancelled after years of development. A multiplayer game PlayStation fans actually cared about. And apparently one look from Bungie, and Sony pulled the plug. Apparently God of War had a live service game from Bluepoint, cancelled. You had a live service game from Ben Studio, cancelled. Twisted Metal live service game cancelled. A Spider-Man live service game cancelled. Sony is in a weird position right now. They acquired Haven Studios. And what have we seen? Nothing. So much promise, so little delivered. It's not just that their games aren't launching, it's that they don't feel like Sony games anymore. There's no signature feel, there's no soul. Did you not hear the list of games that I gave you back from the PS2 era to PS4? It was a gold mine. And now it's just nothing. Who even looks forward to a state of play anymore? What was the last big game that Sony even announced that wasn't controversial? And I think the real problem is this. Sony already won. They've sold over like 80 million PS5s. They've dominated the generation by the numbers. So now they're comfortable. And when you get this comfortable, you don't have to try so hard. You've already won. They're not hungry anymore, and you can feel it. So what is next for Sony? Because right now, it feels like Sony's just punching in the clock. They're making their money. They don't have to try. They've got their feet up, and they're just dominating the AAA console space. Have they earned it? Yeah, but come on, man. This is gaming, and we need to get Sony's head back in the game. Sony's still capable of greatness. They have the studios, they have the legacy, and they have the power. But power doesn't mean much if you forget why you started. This isn't about hating on Sony. This isn't about caring enough to call it out. Because PlayStation made me love games, they also shaped my childhood. They gave me stories I will never forget, and time I will never get back. Time I never want to get back. I cherish those memories. But lately, they feel like a company that doesn't even remember what made them special in the first place. We notice, we remember, and we miss that Sony. Anyways guys, I'm Dario from WeGamersXP. I hope you liked this video, and I hope at some point we get to see Sony back at their best. They've had 3 eras of runs that were just incredible. So there's no saying that they're not going to have a 4th or a 5th, but I'm just tired of waiting, especially with how long games take to develop nowadays. It's kind of scary to think that there's a chance we might not get another era. But let us know what you guys think. Drop a comment below if you've liked this video. Maybe tell us your favorite PlayStation game of all time. And I'll see you guys in the next video.